Morrow gets it to White. White releases another three, and Milford absolutely scorching hot.
Tamani feeling it now. That's his third three-pointer now.
This has been a strong commitment to defense for the Hawks through this first half. And Kelly able to tip it in at the buzzer. The steal, Pasquette gets it back, tries to bank it off the glass and gets it in. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome inside the gymnasium here at Milford High School as Milford TV is happy to bring you coverage of Scarlet Hawks athletics. Tonight we begin our final stretch of games for this 2018-19 winter sports season as the Milford Scarlet Hawks enter into their fourth annual Scarlet Hawk Classic tournament. Tonight the Scarlet Hawks taking on the visitors from Malden High School, the Malden Golden Tornadoes, and unfortunately for Milford, not coming into this tournament with quite the playoff aspirations that they hoped that they were going to have. Milford went into last Friday's game on the road against Canton with an opportunity to still make it into the MIAA playoffs by virtue of either a win on the road against Canton or a loss by the Foxborough Warriors playing against North Attleboro. Milford ended up taking a three-point lead into the half against Canton that evening, but the Bulldogs, led by Devin Foster, who became Canton's all-time leading scorer in boys basketball history, they were able to defeat Milford by a final score of 52-46, and from there the watch was on. What would Foxborough do against North Attleboro? And it turned out Foxborough would get a pair of free throws with just 2 seconds left from Anthony Malika to put them on top of North Attleboro by a point, and Foxborough would steal that game, a 1-point victory for the Warriors. And that sealed Foxborough's fate into the playoffs and sealed Milford's fate, being on the outside looking in. So Milford now in third place in the Davenport standings, and their road in this 2018-19 season will officially come to an end at the close of this in-season tournament. There will be no playoffs. Milford making a bid for a fourth straight appearance in the MIAA playoffs, but sadly they will come up just short in that bid. This young, inexperienced team providing so much excitement during the season, but unfortunately will come up just shy of the playoffs. So they will look to finish out strong in this tournament, which they have never lost. Tonight they will open the tournament, again taking on a tough Malden team, and some interesting drama here in the next couple of days for Malden. They currently come into play a couple of games under 500. Malden needs to run the table. They need to win this tournament if they are going to make it into the MIAA tournament themselves. So Milford has an opportunity to play spoiler here tonight and crush Malden's hopes of sneaking into the MIAA postseason. So it should be an intriguing matchup between these two teams tonight. Again, it is Milford taking on the Malden High School Tornadoes in Game 1 of the Scarlet Hawk Classic Tournament. We'll have all the action coming up right after this here on Milford TV. Back inside the Milford gym, time for tournament basketball to get going between Milford and Malden. Your starters for this game for Malden High School, it is Cameron Lloyd, Christian De Silva, Rashad Moore, Robbins Garcia, and David Mervelis. And for the Scarlet Hawks, it is Danny Corsini, Brendan White, Brendan Saylor, Colby Perez, and Dom Schofield. The senior Danny Corsini has gotten some starting minutes here down the stretch of the season, and deservedly so. His play down the stretch of the season has been outstanding, and so he has been inserted in. Jordan Darling, who has been a fixture in the starting lineup through most of the year, on the bench to start the game here tonight. 30 seconds in, a couple of turnovers on each side of the floor. Again, a different feeling for both of these teams on the floor. For Milford, playing for a lot of pride here tonight, looking to once again claim victory in their home tournament, the Scarlet Hawk Classic Tournament, which is now in its fourth year of existence. In the previous 3 seasons, Milford has come away with the trophy each time, and looking to make it 4 for 4. And after that, their season will end for Malden, hoping for a victory that will propel them on to a championship round on Wednesday and perhaps a spot in the MIAA tournament. Meanwhile, Brendan Saylor opening the scoring here tonight for the Scarlet Hawks with a three-pointer. And a quick turnover. Milford will have a chance to inbound from in front of the Malden bench. Not a lot of matchups between Milford and Malden in the history of these two schools. One very noteworthy matchup between these two schools, however, happened on the softball field back in 2012. This was the team that the Milford softball team went up against in the Division I state championship game in 2012, which of course brought home the first state championship in Milford softball history. They would go on, of course, to win a couple more in the decade to come. But it all got started in a state championship game against Malden. So these schools do have some history, if not on the basketball court. Bodies flying to the floor underneath the Malden hoop, no basket, and Milford comes away with possession. And they feed it outside to Brendan White. He'll put up his first shot of the night, no good. Brendan White, when last in this Milford gym, had another heroic fourth quarter performance against the Stoughton Black Knights in a game we were unfortunately unable to bring you full coverage. However, we do have highlights of that game available up on our YouTube page. But Brendan White, for the second time in 3 games, producing 15 fourth quarter points to lead the team to an incredible fourth quarter comeback win. As Perez now finds some room inside, gets the bank shot. And a little 5-0 run for the Scarlet Hawks to open the night. And Milford now putting the pressure on in the backcourt now, causing the deflection, and Brendan Saylor now moves ahead, has his shot blocked. A little too quick on the release there. Milford not getting fully organized, led to the easy block, and now Malden able to turn it into points on the other end of the floor, courtesy of David Mervillis. It's a little 4-point swing there. And now here's Schofield battling under the boards. He takes the contact. So Schofield now at the line. The foul called on Rashad Moore, his first foul. Schofield goes 1 for 2. Milford with a 4-point advantage, coming down to 5 minutes to play in the first quarter. Robbins Garcia, the captain for the Tornadoes, and points on the back end by Christian De Silva. And just a 2-point game now as Malden puts some pressure on at midcourt. Brendan White briefly handling the basketball. White back up to the number 2 spot in the Hockomock League in scoring coming into this week. Now releases his second 3-point attempt of the game and drains it. White enters this week averaging 17.2 points per game. Too fast to the hole for Rashad Moore. Now Saylor back and forth with Corsini. Passed up the shot attempt. Now Corsini. And eventually back around to White. Trying to get White hot early in this game. 1 for 3 from beyond the arc in this first quarter. And a 2-point Milford lead. And Malden with the ball, less than 4 minutes to go in the first. Deep 3 released by Malden's Cameron Lloyd. Looked like he might get a nice bounce off the front of the rim, but Milford ultimately able to secure the rebound. Now here's Perez from 3, count it. Milford getting some good production from beyond the arc. Now that ball knocked loose, and Milford just not in position to scoop it up. Malden able to recover and put it in the hands of their captain, Robbins Garcia. Now out of the corner, the shot rims out, but the rebound kept alive by Malden. Now they'll try it from the far corner, and this time the shot good for Mervillis. Both teams looking pretty good offensively here in the early going. Now Garcia selling out to try to get that steal. Milford recovers. Now Corsini will launch it. Danny Corsini joins the 3 party. All kinds of outside shooting from both of these teams. Now White plucks the pass, has it knocked away, and off White and out of play. So it will be Malden basketball with 2:44 to go. Corsini, after knocking down that shot, will head to the bench. And Jordan Darling now out on the floor. As Milford again puts the pressure on, they trap the ball handler in the corner. He's able to get the pass away to Garcia, and now Milford slinks back into their half-court set. And you can hear Coach Seaver from the sidelines yelling too easy as Christian De Silva released that shot. And that brings us to a 15-12 score. Offense on display through both of these teams through the first minutes of this game. 2 minutes and 33 seconds to go in the first quarter. And we'll take the timeout. More action to come in a moment here on Milford TV. Milford ball out of the timeout. 2.5 minutes to go in the first quarter. 3-point shots have been the story of this first quarter. Nearly all of the points from both teams have been courtesy of the three. Milford will toss up another one and count it again for Perez, who has been on fire in this first quarter. 8 points now for Perez, leading the Milford attack. Now again, Milford gets the trap, but Malden able to pass ahead. Little floater shot out of De Silva, no good, and now Malden will take it back outside. Less than 2 minutes to go in the first. And they'll call the foul as David Mervillis went up for the shot. They'll call it on Saylor. A quiet crowd here so far tonight. The Jungle slowly making their way in to the gym, but not with quite the same fervor as we're used to. Perhaps the disappointment of not making it into the playoffs having an impact on the excitement level of the crowd here so far. Here's Schofield. Could not get that one in, but the deflection goes right to Corsini, who's back on the floor. Looks like we'll see Ralph Franklin Jr. on the floor as well before long as we tick down to 90 seconds to play. Corsini gets closed in, but is still able to put up the shot. Corsini now with 5 first quarter points. Milford really spreading the offense around well through this first quarter as Jordan Darling went up for that rebound and ended up tipping the ball in. Not quite sure who they'll credit that basket to. Perhaps De Silva, I believe he was in the area. And now Corsini, the up fake, now sends it to the corner for Brendan Saylor, and the threes continue to rain down here in the first quarter. It's the second for Saylor. And perhaps Milford with the pressure off, their shooters feeling a little more free. As Perez and Franklin will check in, Darling and Dom Schofield to the bench. .8 seconds left. Perez, tight defense, forces the pass back outside. A good-looking shot tossed up by Mervillis, but no good. Now a lead pass ahead to Franklin, who tried to send it on to Perez. Wasn't quite expecting it, and it glanced off his hands and out of play. Corsini gets to it, knocks the pass loose, but Malden is able to recover. Now the fadeaway shot is well short, and Milford now has the opportunity to slow things up here to play for the final basket of this first quarter. They've been able to open up a 23-15 lead. Now the bounce pass, White trying to save it, but puts it right back in the hands of Malden. Now Garcia goes coast to coast. He can't get it. The rebound is there for Rashad Moore. I believe that was Christian De Silva who grabbed that last basket, and that will do it for this first quarter. So quite a pace to the beginning of this game so far. Milford able to emerge from the first period of play up 23-17. A quick break here, and we'll have second quarter action next on Milford TV. Second quarter now underway here in Milford, and quite an offensive start to this night for both teams. Outside shooting has been phenomenal. A lot of quickness, a lot of athleticism from this Malden group. Again, Malden needing wins on both days of this tournament if they're going to make it into the MIAA playoffs. So you know they are highly motivated. Now back outside now, perfect look for David Mervillis, who's been a problem. He's up to 8 points now. So back down to a one-possession game at 23-20. Ralph Franklin, who checked in those closing minutes of the first quarter, now heads to the bench. And Milford back to their starting five, which was highly productive in the first quarter. Mervillis just keeps letting them fly. That time, no good. Everyone in Milford's starting five has points in this game. Schofield, his single point came from the free throw line, but Pires with 8 first quarter points, Saylor with 6, Corsini with 5, and White with 3. And now Brendan White an opportunity to shoot free throws after the foul was called on Justin Minnie into the game. Not a lot of fouls in this game so far, just 1 for Milford, 2 now for Malden. And White misses both free throws. He had been in a much better streak from the line in the last couple of games, but a couple of misses. And we play on now. Just under 7 minutes to go. And Malden cutting it a little bit closer. Just a point difference now. Nice behind the back dribble for Saylor, gets him clear of a defender. Now Schofield out on the perimeter. We know he'll shoot him from there. Instead, it's Corsini from the top of the key. And Corsini picks right back up where he left off in the first quarter. Now 8 points for Corsini. And Malden will turn it over on the travel. Corsini from out of the corner. Has it roll across the rim, but no luck that time for Danny. Mervillis very active in this game through the first half. I'll take that dangerous pass from Rito Montuna. Montuna gets it back, now slings it to the corner. And the release over everything for Christian De Silva. And now White takes it coast to coast. Too fast. But now equally as fast, the Tornadoes, but Saylor able to get back defensively. Does not allow for the shot. Briefly had possession. Coach Seaver was trying to call for the timeout. As now Dom Schofield draws the charge. It's just the first in this half. It's low by Milford standards. They have drawn charges with great regularity all season long. It's Milford by 6, 5.5 minutes to go. It's been a fairly quick moving first half. Pires hands off back to Saylor. 14 seconds on the shot clock. Malden keeping Milford far out on the perimeter. Now just 4 seconds left. Somebody has to toss up the shot. Instead, Malden gets the turnover. Now White gets back, knocks it loose. And some trouble was Mervillis, but Malden gets it back out. Just a disorganized trip up the floor that time from Milford, whose offense has been pretty smooth so far on the night. Now up top to Garcia. Garcia. And they're going to give that whistle against Malden. Nice play inside. Milford had the height advantage. Matt Vardaresian checking in for the first time. Now Corsini has that tipped on the way up. Might have made the difference. And now handling the basketball, Franklin Chen into the game for the first time. And Schofield again trying to get position, and he does. So just as we talked about, the offensive foul calls being low, Schofield's able to get a couple in short order. And so Milford will send it back into play. That score remaining 28-22. Trying to clean up some moisture on the floor, and now set to continue. And to Vardaresian. Has the ball knocked away, but right into the direction of Brendan White. Coach Seaver is active as ever on the sidelines as he continues to guide this team, this young team that starting to look towards the future. You have to be excited about the prospects. It's unfortunate to lose players of the caliber of Brendan Saylor, Danny Corsini, and certainly Brendan White, who has been an incredible scorer for this team, a prolific scorer over these last 2 seasons. An opportunity to get close to 800 points for his career, depending on how these last couple of games go. Bounce pass entry, and now they'll send it back out. Corsini now around to Perez. And the shot knocked away by Milford. So the scoring has certainly been much more low-key in this second quarter compared to the first. We've only seen 5 points out of both teams so far through the first 4+ minutes. Now here's White, it's a long 2, and that rattles in. White with 4 points in this period. He has 7 for the half. And now outstanding speed. Robbins Garcia flying up the floor. He gets his first bucket of the half. Milford now a chance to get ahead with speed. Corsini has a wide open lane to the basket thanks to Schofield. Corsini continues to excel. He's now into double figures and even 10 points. That forces the first timeout of the second period. Stops the clock with 2 minutes and 55 seconds to go. Milford on top of Malden by a score of 32-44 as we bring you this coverage of Scarlet Hawks Athletics on Milford TV. Just under 3 minutes left in the first half. Still a relatively close game. An 8-point lead, but with the speed in which Milford's been able to put points on the board in stretches in this game, you know, that can change in a hurry. Here's Saylor now trying to go up and under, no good. White momentarily had his hands on the rebound, but it ends up deflecting to Marvellis. The shot no good. Schofield able to win the rebound. Now Perez accepts the long pass, now has to bring it back out. And he'll release from the corner and count it from 3-point range for Perez. Perez now in double figures with 11 points. And the biggest lead of the night so far for the Scarlet Hawks at 11. And Malden trying to get a chunk of that back, courtesy of Cameron Lloyd, but the shot no good. Now here's White, leaves it for Schofield. Perez getting tangled up, going for the rebound as he was going out of play. So Malden with possession now, 90 seconds to go in the half. Garcia again loops the pass out to Mervillis. Now around to Lloyd. Lloyd trying to get around Schofield. And instead they leave it in the hands of Rashad Moore. He couldn't do anything with it. And now Milford a chance to continue to tack on. Saylor taking his time. Now under a minute. 14 seconds left on the shot clock as they feed White down low. Has the height advantage over Garcia, but cannot finish the layup. But he does get fouled. Milford still not in the bonus. That was the 6th foul on Malden. They call it on Robbins Garcia. Milford still with just 1 foul in this half. They have played very clean basketball. Here's Perez, was a little out of control going up for that layup and couldn't finish it. Now 35 seconds to go. Out of the corner from William Stickney. Now the ball loose. And into the hands of Saylor. Shot clock turned off. Here's Corsini. And gets the bank off the glass, and an outstanding first half continues for Corsini. 12 points. He is the leading scorer in this game. Now 8 seconds to go. Malden trying to chip into the deficit. They put it in the hands of their hottest shooter in this half, Mervillis. He drains the deep 3 right at the buzzer. So that will give Malden something to build on going into the half. It cuts it back down to an even 10-point margin, but Milford playing outstanding offensive basketball. Outside shooting has been there throughout the first 16 minutes of this game, and as a result, they lead it by a score of 37-27. And we will take a break for the half, and we will have the start of third quarter action for you after this on our coverage of Milford High School boys basketball right here on Milford TV. Back inside the Milford gym for second half action between the Milford Scarlet Hawks and the Malden Golden Tornadoes. Milford with a 10-point lead as this second half gets going. An early miss on the first possession of the half for David Mervillis, who ended up leading all scorers in that first half with 14 points. Danny Corsini led the Milford attack with 12. It was Corsini and Colby Perez who did the heavy lifting offensively. Perez with 11 points. Brendan White had 7, Brendan Saylor had 6, and a single point out of Dom Schofield. But this starting 5 has really been outstanding on each spot on the floor, and as a result, we have not seen Coach Seaver go to his bench very much. We saw a brief appearance from both Matt Vardaresian and Jordan Darling in the first half, but he has opted to ride the hot hand of his starting 5, and it has certainly paid off. Christian De Silva, meanwhile, getting the first Malden points of this third quarter to cut it back to a single-digit deficit. Tim Coet here on the call once again for Milford TV. Win or lose for Milford tonight, we will have their concluding game in this tournament coming up on Wednesday. A win and Milford will play for the championship in a 7 o'clock start time on Wednesday. If they lose, they will play at 5 o'clock. And we can tell you that in the first game earlier today of this tournament, it was Wellesley High School who was able to defeat Scarlet Hawk Classic staple participant Tantascwa High School. So Wellesley is already in that championship game. So the winner of this game will play Wellesley High School for the Scarlet Hawk Classic title. The loser of this game tonight will play Tantascwa High School at 5 o'clock. Shot clock winding down for Milford. Corsini ends up getting it blocked. And it's deflected out of play. It will stay Milford basketball, where they will have 1 second to get it in and release a shot. And White able to toss one up off the back of the rim, and the rebound controlled by Malden. So Milford, a little bit of a sluggish start on these early possessions of the third quarter, looking to cash in for the first time here in the third. Now Corsini drives inside, and Corsini continues to pace this Milford attack. Now up to 14 points. Mervillis with some fancy footwork, but can't get away from Schofield. Now back outside from Mervillis from distance. And he has hit that shot all night long, now up to 17 points. And it's a 7-point Milford lead now as Malden has come out with a little bit of momentum. They were able to get that three-pointer right at the buzzer. Milford looked like they were going to head into the half with a 13-point lead, but Malden gave themselves a little something to build on. And now coming out on a 5-2 run to start this third quarter. Jordan Darling now checking back into the game. Brendan White getting a rest on the bench. Here's Perez. High bank off the glass. Perez now up to 13 points. This has been one of his best offensive nights of the season. Ready now for Malden to inbound. They sling it across the way to Mervillis. They're going to continue to feed him the basketball, and why not? There he gets the love on the rim and high bounce. 5 points now already in the third quarter. Corsini offline on the shot. Now the ball deflected the length of the floor. And De Silva unable to finish it. Milford looked like they were going to have that rebound. And now looks like temper's getting a little hot there at the end of the play, and the coach, or I should say the official right now, talking to both Mervillis and Brendan Saylor. And the two with a very brief handshake. And Coach Seaver looking for a technical to be called on the play. It happened so quick and through a crowd, it was hard to see without the benefit of instant replay here in real time to see what the contact was that got those tempers flared. And certainly Coach Seaver feels as though it was initiated on the Malden side. Wanted to see a technical called there, none took place. And so 41-34 score, and again, Malden with their playoff hopes on the line. If they lose here tonight, they are officially eliminated from playoff contention. So they have a lot riding on the line. Milford has led essentially since the beginning. White grabbing his first bucket of the second half to bring the lead back up to 9. And now Malden with a pass to nowhere. White back out on the floor. Darling stays out there. Right now Perez on the bench. So they call the foul on Malden away from the ball. So they wave off the bucket for White. The foul called on David Mervillis, his second foul. Now the ball going Malden's way. What a strange stoppages of play, turnovers taking place. And now drawing the charge is Jordan Darling. Both teams with a pair of fouls so far here in the third. Garcia staying close to Saylor, who dumps it off to Schofield. Jordan Darling, in limited minutes tonight, has not yet gotten on the score sheet. Now the feed in, and White mugged on the way up, and that's Mervillis who's going to pick up another foul. That's 3 fouls now on David Mervillis. He's going to have to be careful, and you could see the frustration starting to show through for Mervillis. And Coach Don Nally, the head coach for the Malden Golden Tornadoes, calling the timeout, trying to rein his team in a little bit here. They had made a run to start the period to cut it close. They had cut it down to a 7-point game, but Milford now building it back up to a 9-point lead, and still a close one here. A lot can happen, a lot of time left, 3:15 to go. We'll take the timeout. More action to come in a moment here on Milford TV. Brendan White at the free throw line. It's just Milford's second trip to the line in this game. I beg your pardon. It's White's second trip to the line. Milford's third trip overall. And a clean trip to the line this time for White. He's now 2 for 4. It's an 11-point lead now for the Scarlet Hawks. As that shot rims out from De Silva. Rebound once again controlled by Milford. Their rebounding has been very strong on both ends of the floor. There's White again attacking the basket. 6 points in the third quarter now for White. He has 13 in the game. And Malden called for the travel. And Malden in a vulnerable spot right now as Milford has built this lead back up. A 13-point lead. This is about the biggest lead of the night. Coming down to 2.5 minutes to play in the third quarter. A little bit more of a sluggish pace here in the third compared to what we saw in the first half. Some more fouls, and it looks like they're going to call another foul on Mervillis. If so, this is going to be number 4. Indeed it is. And they're going to have no choice but to send David Mervillis to the bench, who is pleading his case to his coach the whole way. He didn't feel the foul was justified. And he has been by far the best player on the floor tonight for the Tornadoes. Forced to the bench now, likely at least for the rest of this third quarter. Brendan White really starting to heat up. And Saylor trying to draw the charge, but he will instead take the foul. And that's Saylor's third foul, so we'll quickly see Matt Vardaresian return to the floor. That pass nearly getting past Montuna, but he was able to pull it down. And they will count it. And the foul, contact late as Cameron Lloyd went up for the shot. And a chance for a 4-point play. Out of a 6'2" junior, Cameron Lloyd, he's able to get the free throw. So a 4-point swing cuts it back down to an 11-point game. Coach Seaver not liking what he was seeing as Malden was putting the pressure on. He elects to call for the timeout, which stops the clock at 1 minute and 58 seconds to go in the third quarter. It's an 11-point lead for the Scarlet Hawks, up 49-38 as we continue to bring you coverage of the Scarlet Hawk Classic tournament from Milford High School right here on Milford TV. Vardaresian now brings the ball up the floor with 1 minute and 51 seconds to go. Knocked free by Malden. White trying to save it. So they do call the foul on White. That's just his first of the night. So Milford, after just committing 1 foul in the entire first half. They have 5 fouls now as we come down toward 90 seconds left to play. All kinds of elevation for Justin Minnie, who is left alone under the basket. And it's back down to a 9-point Milford lead. Looked like they were on the verge of putting this game away about 2 minutes ago. Now here's Darling. And he draws contact on the way up to the hoop. Now Brendan Saylor with his 3 fouls, as well as Danny Corsini, perch themselves at the scorer's table. A foul was called on Justin Minnie for Malden. And now Saylor and Corsini out on the floor. Vardaregian and Schofield to the bench. Darling misses the second free throw. 50-40. So we're about to enter the last minute of the third quarter. A long way across the floor to Lloyd. He's their best three-point shooter out on the floor right now in the absence of Mervillis. Justin Minnie making a great bid to try to save that ball. Went head first flying on a play, but could not save it. Now Saylor directing traffic as he guides the ball across midcourt. Now Perez. Saylor against Garcia. Shot clock winding down. Corsini has his lane to the basket closed off. 3 seconds left. White has to put it up, and it gets rejected out of play. Deflected by Christian De Silva. So a good defensive stand that time for Malden. They'll get the ball back now with 27.3 seconds left. Milford nearly pulling off the steal. Perez closing in, but now Malden up the floor. They have a man advantage, and all the way to the rack goes De Silva. And Milford now a chance to play for the last shot. They put it in the hands of Perez. He releases the shot. It's well short. And that's where we'll end it here in the third quarter. So Milford, for the second time, had expanded the lead out to 13 points. But as it stands now, they will take an 8-point lead into the final 8 minutes of this first day of tournament play here in the Scarlet Hawk Classic. Milford leading Malden by a score of 50-42. We will have the start of the fourth quarter when we come back next here on Milford TV. Fourth quarter now underway in Milford. The winner of this game will move on to play the Wellesley High School Raiders for the Scarlet Hawk Classic Championship on Wednesday. The loser will meet up with Tantasco Regional High School in a late afternoon tilt. Perez with the steal, saves it from going out of play, now gets it back, releases the three, and drains it. What a play, what a sequence for Colby Perez. Gets the steal, saves the ball from going out of play, and then ends up with the three-pointer to boot, and Milford makes it a lightning-quick 5-0 run to start this fourth quarter as Saylor puts it in, and that forces a very quick Malden timeout. So a huge swing of momentum just in the first 29 seconds of this fourth quarter. Milford now with a 55-42 lead. So once again, a 13-point advantage. Taking on a Malden team who certainly wants to win this tournament here, but more importantly than that, they want to make their way into the MIAA playoffs. They need wins tonight and on Wednesday in order to do it. Malden playing out of the South Division of the Northeastern League, in which they currently come in, in the North Division of the Northeastern League, in which they currently come in in 5th place position. That is a huge league. 8 teams in the North Division: Lynn English, Everett, Lynn Classical, Beverly, Malden, Peabody, Revere, and Marblehead. Marvillis back into the game with 4 fouls. David Marvillis, he's been their best player, but sent to the bench in the closing minutes of the 3rd quarter after picking up his 4th foul. Cameron Lloyd, meanwhile, has done well to step up in his absence. He has 7 points now in the 2nd half. And now Malden with a turnover. It's back down to a 10-point lead. Lloyd left alone outside. This time doesn't release the shot. Instead, it's Minnie from the far corner. And he misses. The rebound pulled down by Colby Perez. So a lot of basketball left. Schofield, a big offensive rebound. Now outside for Saylor. Malden bench cheering on the defense. White, a long 3, no good. The rebound for Malden. Trailing by 10. Back outside again for Lloyd. This time the 3-point attempt off the front of the rim, but he's able to collect the rebound. Now goes up off balance on the layup and is able to put it in. And back down now to an 8-point margin. So a 5-0 run in lightning speed for Milford to start the 4th, but now a 5-0 run personally for Cameron Lloyd. Saylor offline on the shot. And the floater, good for Robbins Garcia. It's just his 2nd bucket of the game. But now down to a 6-point lead, just a 2-possession game with tons of time left, 5.5 minutes to go. Milford trying to get momentum back in their favor, but White called for the offensive foul as the officials reacting to the body language of Marvillis. Snapped the head back when the elbow came up for White. Coach Seaver sniffing out a flop there. It was hard to tell at game speed. Justin Minnie, meanwhile, puts in the bucket, and things getting very tight now from a 13-point lead all the way down to 4 for Milford. This is the best sequence of the game so far for Malden. As now the foul is called on Robbins Garcia. .458 to play in a race to the finish line. And it looks like they're going to call a foul away from the play on Brendan Saylor. So the officials really injecting themselves into this 4th quarter after they've let a lot of play go in this game. And so Malden with the ball and just that 4-point deficit and a lot going the Tornadoes' way right now. Here's Minnie, and Perez was able to get a piece of that shot on the way up. Now here's Lloyd from 3-point range, no good. The rebound still up for grabs. Minnie trying to go for it as it went out of play. It's not able to secure it. Milford will have a chance to send it back in with 4 minutes and 29 seconds to go. Milford out of sorts here over these last couple of minutes. They grabbed those 2 quick buckets in the first 29 seconds of this 4th quarter, and they have been shut out since then. It's been a 9-0 Tornadoes run. Saylor at the free throw line after the foul is called on Cameron Lloyd. It's just his first foul of the game. These are badly needed free throws for Milford to try to give themselves a little more breathing room. And instead, Saylor can't come through. And the rebound, fortunate for Milford, is deflected out of play by Malden. Milford can't really afford to play around with the clock. They need to make sure they secure points, and that's exactly what Brendan White just did. He puts in the bucket to make it a 6-point game, but it is still uncomfortably close if you are a Scarlet Hawks fan. 4 minutes and 5 seconds to go in this game, and it is a 57-51 score. Milford clinging to the lead. A lot of drama left to unfold here in the Milford gym, and we'll have it for you next here on Milford TV. Some confusion for Malden coming out of the timeout. A lot of screaming from the sidelines as they sent that ball back in play, and then meanwhile a collision at midcourt between Rashad Moore and Brendan White, who has picked up a couple of fouls here now with 3. White and Saylor both with 3 fouls. And the miss on the free throw, but Malden able to control the rebound. Trailing by 6. Mervillis with 4 fouls. Dishes that pass away. Meanwhile, the shot no good by Moore. A scrum for the loose ball. Bodies flying. Malden has it. And they're able to loop the pass out to Garcia, their point guard. Now from downtown, the shot offline by Lloyd, and White finally puts an end to the possession. And a dangerous pass in and out of the hands of Perez, and now right back up the floor for the Tornadoes. White sets his feet. Malden able to get around the defender. And now the second chance effort is no good, but they will call the foul. And I beg your pardon, I said a moment ago it was 3 fouls for Saylor. It was 4. He had picked up his 4th foul a couple of moments ago, and that will be 5 to send Saylor to the bench. And so Matt Vardaresian will be out there now for the duration. 3 minutes and 12 seconds to go. And now free throws for Robbins Garcia. Too strong on the first. Able to make the second. So now a 5-point game. Still a 2-possession Milford lead. Vardaresian in trouble. White able to get there, but now the turnover. Lloyd all alone. Can't get the finish on the layup. And Garcia will now dribble it back outside. Milford's been a little bit too loose with the basketball here in this 4th quarter. And very fortunate that Malden did not come away from that possession with points. Here's Perez now trying to answer back. His shot no good. The rebound for the Tornadoes. 2.5 minutes to go, and it is still a 5-point Milford lead. And now Mervillis lets it go. He has been quiet since getting into foul trouble, but knocks down a huge shot right there. It's his first bucket of the 4th quarter, and now just a 2-point Milford lead. Corsini now from 3, too short. And Garcia ends up running into Schofield. And Schofield picks up the foul. And so a chance here for Robbins Garcia to tie the game at the free throw line. What a turn of events here in this 4th quarter. And at 7 minutes and 29 seconds to go, Milford led this game by 13. But Malden has been chipping away, and now they won't be able to bring themselves all the way back here. One more free throw to go for Robbins Garcia. And just a 1-point lead for the Scarlet Hawks with still over 2 minutes to play. Here's White now, tries to attack the basket, sends the pass back outside to nowhere. Now up for the layup, no good for De Silva. And Garcia again pulls it back outside. And the timeout right now on the floor. And right now, head coach Don Nally from Malden not particularly happy with the officials. He continues to get his say in. Finally, the officials give a warning. The Milford crowd wanting the technical, and it looks like they did eventually give the technical. White with the free throws. Two huge makes for Brendan White. A 3-point Scarlet Hawks lead with possession. And a minute 48 seconds to go. We've said it all season long, Milford has known nothing else but to play an exciting brand of basketball. It hasn't always resulted in wins, but we have seen some good theater on the basketball court throughout this season. White in a log jam under the basket, sends it back outside for Perez. No good on the shot. White somehow fights for the rebound, puts the shot back up, and that one no good as well. And Mervillis pulls down the rebound. And a one-possession game. A three will tie it for the Tornadoes. Garcia taking his time. Now sends it to Mervillis. This for the tie. It's well short. And now back up top. And to the corner now for Lloyd. His shot over everything. Rebound goes to Rashad Moore. And again into the hands of Mervillis. 50 seconds to go. A lot of time taken here. And now finally Coach Nally calls the timeout with 49.2 seconds left in the game. 22 seconds on the shot clock. And Milford living very dangerously, allowing about 3 offensive rebounds on this possession. We've seen a couple of different shots tossed up that would have tied the game. Feels like the officials have had this game at times get away from them. With a lot of physicality, a lot of fast-paced action between these two teams. We've seen both coaching staffs at odds with the officials throughout this game. So everywhere you turn, there has been drama on the floor. And these two teams talking it over right now. Malden will have the basketball again with an opportunity to tie it with a three-pointer. They've taken some time off the clock here, just 49.2 seconds left. So if they can't come away with the tie, we'll see how long the Tornadoes go without fouling. Milford already back out on the floor with their starting 5 minus Brendan Saylor, who has fouled out of the game. Instead, Jordan Darling filling that 5th spot. So no true point guard on the floor right now for the Hawks, but trying to get their best defenders out there on the floor. 40 seconds left, 13 seconds on the shot clock. Milford trying to stay close to Mervillis and Lloyd, who have been the best outside shooters. Instead now inside, down low, Brendan White muscles the ball away and now gets pulled from behind. And I believe it was Mervillis who now rips the jersey out from the shorts in frustration as he does pick up his 5th foul. So David Mervillis now becomes the 2nd player to foul out of this game and takes a seat down at the end of the bench. Everything on the line for the Tornadoes. They have played a max effort game in this 4th quarter to try to claw their way back in and give themselves a chance to keep their MIAA playoff tournament hopes alive. And White cannot come through at the free throw line this time. Huge miss. And Robbins Garcia trying to attack the basket. The ball goes flying out of play. And we'll see another timeout called for here. This game is by no means decided. White with an opportunity to push it back to a 2-possession game at the free throw line, but just could not get the shot to fall. So it is still just a 3-point margin as we go in and out of timeouts here in the final seconds. 20.8 to go. I believe it will be Milford inbounding the basketball when the two teams come out of this timeout. No playoffs this year for the Scarlet Hawks. They come into the game today with an overall record of 8-11, 7-9 within league play. That was their final league record as they close out the season with these 2 non-conference games. They'll finish in a tie for 3rd place with Stoughton. Stoughton, who I believe will make it into the MIAA tournament. They are 500 overall on the season. So Canton, Foxborough, and again, I believe the Stoughton Black Knights will represent the Davenport division in the MIAA playoffs. It'll be 4 teams in from the Kelly Rex, Mansfield, Attleboro, Franklin, and Taunton all making it in. And so back to live action. The quick release from 3 off the inbounds pass for Lloyd. So I beg your pardon, it was Malden with the inbounds duties. And Lloyd with a huge shot for Malden that ties the game. Now 8 seconds left, and they'll give possession to the Malden Tornadoes as that ball was knocked loose. I thought it was a kicked ball. And so Malden now with 7 seconds left, a chance to win it if they can put a basket in here before the buzzer. Here's Garcia. They send it back outside. The shot offline, 1 second to go, and Milford just holds on to it. And a dramatic 3-pointer knockdown for Cameron Lloyd with less than 20 seconds left. Ties the game at 59, and that is the score at the end of regulation. So we will see an overtime period here in game 1 of the Scarlet Hawk Classic. Milford 59, Malden 59. And overtime will come your way right after this here on Milford TV. So here we go. We start anew. 4 minutes on the clock. And the opening tip for overtime ends up in the hands of Malden. A 13-point deficit erased by the Malden Tornadoes in that 4th quarter. Milford was limited to just 9 fourth-quarter points, and that included 5 within the first 30 seconds of the period. And now an early miss. And as we continue on in this overtime, Milford plays without the services of Brendan Saylor, who fouled out. And Malden plays without the services of their top scorer on the night, David Mervillis, who also fouled out. And a wild shot put up by Corsini, no good. Brendan White able to get the offensive rebound, and now we'll head to the free throw line. And Brendan White puts the lead back in Milford's favor for now. Two big free throws for the senior captain. Now a miss on the other end from Malden. The shot from long range, no good for William Stickney. And now that'll be Milford basketball as it gets deflected out of play. Pressure in the backcourt for the Tornadoes. And now the turnover in front of the Milford bench. 2 minutes and 50 seconds to go in the OT. Now driving inside, and Dom Schofield draws the charge. You can see how badly Malden wants this game. They've been playing with so much emotion, particularly in the second half, that fueled them to that comeback. But trying to keep within themselves here. And for Milford, just trying at this point to survive. As good an offensive start to the night as it was for the Scarlet Hawks, it's been absolutely dreadful since the game turned to the fourth quarter. Malden able to outscore Milford 17-9 in that fourth quarter. Time running out on the shot clock for Milford. Schofield off balance and now having a hard time getting back to his feet, and they will stop play. It was a fadeaway shot for Schofield. Not sure if he came down hard on his head, but he is down and being attended to by the training staff. So we will pause now for an injury timeout. The clock stopped with 2 minutes and 9 seconds left. Milford on top, clinging to a 61-59 lead. Back with more in just a moment here on Milford TV. Schofield able to get back to his feet and head to the bench under his own power. Looked to be favoring his lower back as he went to the sideline, so perhaps landing hard on the back as he tried to put up that shot. Milford, again, with just a 2-point lead. The ball knocked loose. White with it, ahead in transition, gets around his defender and to the basket. White with all 4 points in this overtime period so far. Now Garcia just barely able to get away from White, and somehow Malden saves that ball from going out of play. And Franklin with the reach in commits the foul. Ralph Franklin Jr. right now playing in the spot of Schofield. Schofield continues to sit now at the end of the bench. Does not look to be coming back into this game, at least for the moment. Garcia has had quite a few looks from the free throw line in the third quarter, or excuse me, in the fourth quarter and in overtime. Three-point Milford lead. We've seen this before. Now White heads in uncontested, but can't finish the layup. Costly for Milford. Now Malden back up the floor once again. The three-pointer will tie it. They put it back in the hands of the man who tied it right at the end of regulation, but just briefly. Now outside for Stickney. Now back to Lloyd. Lloyd with a good look and sends it off the back of the rim, but the rebound controlled by De Silva. Now this time Lloyd will let it go from the near corner, no good. And finally Colby Perez able to pull down the rebound, and now we head into the last minute of overtime. Milford with the 1-point lead. Stickney going for the steal, but White holds on. Milford in no hurry to put up a shot. Here's Darling now trying for the bounce pass. It's picked off by Lloyd. Now leaves it behind for Stickney from three, and about halfway down it rims out. And meanwhile, White and William Stickney collide, and it looked like it might have been a knee-to-knee collision, and Stickney right now is in some serious pain, and we will head right back to an injury timeout with Milford on top 63-60 on Milford TV. So a very scary situation on that last play. White and William Stickney both going for the ball heading out of play. When all was said and done, they call the foul on Brendan White. White was able to get right back up from the collision, but William Stickney was another story. Initially, we thought it was perhaps some knee-to-knee contact, but in the end, it looked to be a serious ankle injury for Stickney, who was in considerable pain on the floor, stayed down on the floor for several minutes before his teammates came over to help him to the sideline. The Milford training staff right now attending to the left ankle of Stickney, who again looks to be in absolute agony on the sideline. So we certainly give our thoughts to the senior William Stickney. Meanwhile, it is Franklin Chen at the free throw line for the Tornadoes, able to make the first shot to cut it to a 2-point game. 37 seconds to go. And clutch free throws for Franklin Chen, who has seen very limited action in this game, the 5'7" senior. And he cuts it down to a 1-point Milford lead with 37 seconds left. Malden does not need to foul here. And putting pressure on the inbounds, and Malden able to knock it loose. And Lloyd gets fouled, or was it on Robbins Garcia? But the real key is here, the foul was called on Brendan White, which will be his 5th and final foul. So Brendan White now will head to the bench for these final 34.7 seconds, and Milford, with both their senior captains now on the bench, will not factor into the conclusion of this game. And Milford right now on the floor with Danny Corsini, Colby Perez, Jordan Darling, Matt Vardaresian, and Ralph Franklin Jr. So I beg your pardon, now Jordan Darling will head to the bench. Vardaresian on the floor with Schofield, Corsini, Perez, and Franklin, as that first free throw from Lloyd tied the game up. And the second gives Malden the lead, 64-63, as yet another timeout is called. This has been a second half in overtime that has really defied all logic. It felt through the first 3+ quarters of this game that Milford was in full control, but Malden flipping a switch in the 4th quarter to erase a 13-point deficit to tie the game. And then just when you thought Milford had a hold on things here in overtime, Malden comes back. Brendan White fouls out of the game, and now here we are with the Tornadoes with a 1-point lead with 34.7 seconds to go. And we'll see ultimately where the offense is going to come from here when Milford brings the ball back up the floor. It looks like we might see, for the first time all night, Ben Blanchard check into the game. And indeed, it'll be Blanchard with Vardaresian, Perez, Corsini, and Dom Schofield. Coach Seaver electing to keep Jordan Darling on the bench. And Perez able to get it into Vardaresian, now gets it back, 30 seconds to go. About a 5-second difference between shot clock and game clock. Milford advances the basketball and then calls another timeout. And so we will take this timeout as well. We'll see if Milford can find a way to dig deep and come up with a key shot here to give themselves a chance to hang on for the win. An exciting conclusion on tap next to this overtime period on Milford TV. The same personnel for Milford out of the timeout. Perez slings it into Vardaresian. 20 seconds on the shot clock, 24 in the game. Corsini from 3, no good. The deflection up for grabs. Garcia pulls it down, and then Milford forced to commit the foul. And you have to wonder if putting up a 3 was Milford's best option there. They still had plenty of time on the shot clock, only trailing by 1. But Corsini has been one of the best offensive options in this game tonight. And Garcia knocks down 2 clutch free throws to make this a 3-point game. So now Milford with 15 seconds left. They do need the 3 to tie. And wouldn't you know it, we have another timeout with 14.7 seconds left. So we will take the timeout as well. Milford trying to come up with something to save themselves in this game. We'll find out if they can pull it off when we come back next on Milford TV. .7 seconds left for Milford, needing a 3-pointer to tie. Corsini trying to get free on the far side. The bounce pass to Blanchard. He gets swarmed. Now the ball tipped. Milford tries to dive for it. Malden falls on it as time expires. And an unbelievable comeback as now Perez is slow to get to his feet. And somehow, some way, Malden is able to erase a couple of 13-point deficits in this game. They erase a deficit here in overtime, and they emerge victorious over the Milford Scarlet Hawks by a final score of 66-63. So for the first time in this tournament's existence, Milford will not play for the championship. Instead, they will face off against Tantascwa in a consolation game at 5 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon. And Malden keeps their playoff hopes alive, and now a chance to win this tournament on Wednesday if they can eke out a victory against Wellesley. But that will wrap up our coverage here tonight. For our camera operators, Caitlin Mobilia and Scott Crisafulli, and for our director, Mike Sperling, I am Tim Coet. That final score, one final time in overtime. Malden comes back to stun the Milford Scarlet Hawks by a final score of 66-63. This has been a presentation of Milford High School Athletics on Milford TV. So long, everybody.